The other really simple thing is just taking, a simple sentence like, I will be a mother, or I am a mother, or I am whole or healthy, or whatever it is that, someone is struggling with. Repeating it back. So, you could even do this with your partner or with a practitioner.
Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby.
Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Clark, and my mission is to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Most of all, I want you to wake up. So with functional medicine, we can discover what causes infertility and eventually reverse the condition. Today, I'm welcoming Leah Irby to the podcast, and we're digging into how sound healing helps during the fertility journey. Leah Irby is a sound healer, holistic women's health coach, violin, viola, voice coach, certified as a fertility coach, music teacher, and an ordained minister. She is passionate about making this world a better place by empowering women's voices so they can birth their song. She gave birth to her son when she was 43 after 10 years of waiting and seeks to help others navigate their health journey. She also plays viola and loves to dance Lindy Hop in her spare time. Check out her website at leahirby.com. That's LeahIrby.com. And before we jump into today's show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on iTunes or wherever you're listening this to make sure you never miss an episode. Hey, Leah, excited to have you on the podcast.
Hi.
Yeah, so if you could share your story as to how you came to this work, as I find most people that do this kind of work have a story. So if you could share with us.
Well, my story for getting into being a fertility coach is from my own experience of dealing with infertility myself. And I have a music teacher background. So the sound healing kind of came about as I was starting to look into the fertility coach aspect. For my own story, I was married before and we were trying for 4 years, and we went to the fertility clinic and had IUIs and testing and all the stuff. And I think I was recommended IVF, but I never wanted to actually go there. I basically went through 4 years of all that and got to a point where I think I'd done like 5 IUIs, and I just kind of hit a breaking point where I was done and I was depressed, and I was looking for support. Didn't actually know about what a fertility coach was at that point, but I was looking to see, who else could help me. And I went to, I think he called himself a spiritual coach, and started getting kind of more in touch with my intuition and a lot of the things that we do as fertility coaches. Just kind of unraveling my story and my grief. And then it kind of opened up my intuition, and I started to dig into things, and I was having autoimmune problems. And I found that, I was having a reaction to implantation, but it was something that no one else had ever described. Or I kept asking, is it possible that, sperm and egg can meet up, but you don't have implantation? Everyone's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just imagining things. But I felt pregnant for 2 weeks, and then my period would come, and I kept asking for an explanation. Nobody could give me one. And so anyway, finally I read in an acupuncture book about this implantation reaction that can be caused by autoimmune problems. Okay. So I started kind of piecing things together, and I had also different issues with chronic inflammation and shoulder problems and other stuff. And I thought, is this all connected somehow? I had this dream to deal with my dental work, actually. And I went to a holistic dentist, and they're like, yeah, this can be affecting your fertility. I had root canals, I had teeth implants, and I had actually had infections underneath the teeth implants, it turned out. And the root canals were kind of leaching a little bit of toxicity into my body, and all of that was kind of this toxic soup. I had like a whole bunch of things done because I was just genetically missing teeth. So anyway, for me at least, once I got all this dental work taken care of, and I went to kind of a naturopath who worked with detoxing, my body started to heal itself. But then I went through a divorce. My partner finally told me he really didn't want to have kids and had anxiety. And so we parted ways. And then it was, okay, now I'm single. I'm healthy. I'm single. So I pursued for a little bit, trying to look into being a single mom by choice, and found a sperm donor and went through that procedure for a little bit. And then I was about to try again when I met my husband. We started Skyping, and I'm from the US and he was in Sweden, and we met when I was traveling. So it was a couple of years had passed, and we started talking online, and then I moved to Sweden, and 4 or 5 months after I moved here, we conceived naturally.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty miracle to me.
Mhm.
But, again, I feel like I thought, okay, now I'm healthy. I should get pregnant right away. And I kind of questioned, why was it even taking 4 or 5 months? And I started pulling out all the information I had gathered for working with fertility clients and try it on myself. And I read, that like 30%, it was like a 30% increase in your chances of getting pregnant if you dealt with your stress level, like through mind body programs or stress relief of some sort. So I started going, well, I know all these things, I should just practice them. So that also, I think, helped. And also being, we were on a break from school. My job was very stressful. So it was around Christmas time. Anyway, and I did work with an acupuncturist in Stockholm too. So I do think that was a little push as well. Yeah. And then I decided I really wanted to help other people try to get to the other side. So the sound healing is more recent. I've kind of been working with my business for about a year, but I started to piece together what was I actually doing. I have a music background, music teacher. I worked in the US and in Sweden. And I realized that music is in and through all cultures. It's something that is helpful in kind of just in many significant points in our lives, music is involved. So anyway, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about what I do with the music. That's kind of how the sound healing, and I've been starting to look through and see what other traditional sound healers. I think I might do things slightly differently than other people who call them sound healers, but I felt like it was healing and it was coaching and music combined. So that's
thanks for sharing your story. That's and your little guy he's 2.5, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's quite a story. Yeah, and the biological dentist, a lot of people find with those amalgam fillings, and then they try to have them ripped out all at once, which can then have issues with detox. So to really go to someone that's really specializing in that field instead of having them all. Because I guess I was listening to Dr. Mark Hyman's. I'm not sure if you saw it, the broken brain too, and they had a biological dentist on there talking about when removing these just because of the vapors and things like that, the heavy metals can then just really leach into your system. So really having a professional look at that.
Yes, it is good because it can. Yeah, I've read a lot from Weston Price Foundation. If anyone listening it does have some kind of metals in your mouth or dental work and you want to look into it, there's a Weston Price Foundation, and also I forgot how it's called, but it's like the International Association of Oral Health or something, where it's their association for mercury-free dentistry, basically. And you can look up people in your area. But it's really good to also work with a naturopath because, it needs to be done correctly, or you can actually cause a few more problems. Yeah. Mine was actually not the mercury as much as nickel. I didn't realize, but nickel is in a lot of bridge work. So if you're replacing missing teeth or something, and interestingly, actually on online message boards, you can connect with odd people around the world with different issues. And one point when I was in a fertility group, I met another woman who was also having fertility challenges, and she had I had this kind of metal bridge, we call like a Maryland bridge. And she had the same one, and we had it on the same tooth. And each tooth actually relates to a different system in your body. So depending on which teeth have had issues or problems or whatever, it can affect different parts of your body. And one of the front 2 teeth is related to sterility or fertility. So I thought it was very interesting when I found that she had also had and she even had like a second trimester loss, I think, and several miscarriages. And then I shared with her that I was getting it all taken care of, and she was like, "Oh, maybe I need to do the same." So the dentistry thing is a big piece. If it is, I mean, and it was something that not talked about by the fertility clinic or by doctors even.
Yeah, and then I guess in the first place, why are teeth coming in crooked or missing, which then could be other. Put it back to sensitivities. There's some correlation with gluten sensitivity and teeth coming in, palates and things like that. So that's an interesting kind of correlation where we don't think of that, and we just run off to the orthodontist and spend thousands of dollars on braces.
Yeah, someone from Switzerland told me that they had done studies there that actually sometimes correcting through the orthodontia was actually creating more problems with the kids. I also wonder, like, it was about the time that I started a lot of my autoimmune things were when they started to do corrections, and actually the braces have nickel in them too, which can throw off your hormones, your teen years, and there's a lot of
I know it's interesting how we do things as a society. And so, wait a minute, why are we doing this? And let's look at it a little differently.
Definitely.
So, as far as sound healing, if someone's not familiar with that, what exactly is that?
Like I said, I kind of came on the term more because I was using music and I was using healing, and then I realized, oh, there's a whole movement around this. So I'm still learning about what other people do with it. I would say for me, it's using music as a tool, and also using music in a way usually that's not a traditional song. Like you're not singing this hymnal in church or whatever, or a song with words necessarily. So it can be like with mantras or whatever, use that. I think also just some of the meditative ones that I've used or the ones I've seen are a lot of either mantra type things where it's kind of chanting, or simple breath work and just singing on one note. And I'm amazed, honestly. Sometimes I feel like my son is like my test subject at times. But the other day he was really inconsolable at night, and I got out this Tibetan singing bowl, and you just kind of, it makes a tone, but it is really relaxing feeling. And he was just like crying and crying and crying, and I just started playing it, and I thought, oh, this isn't helping. But then suddenly he stops mid-sentence like, "Thank you, mama." And I thought, oh, okay, this is really, so on a vibrational level. But I think also what I've been tuning into is the singing piece of it, and that I wanted to use more with the singing because it's something that I can teach to a client and they can do at home. So if you haven't bought a Tibetan singing bowl, or I have a violin and viola that those are my instruments. So I also use that sometimes when I'm recording. But I feel like the singing is a really fundamental thing that is important to teach people, and that I think a lot of people are scared of singing a little bit because we've been taught as kids, oh, you don't have a good voice, or you're off tune, or whatever, the kind of society stuff. But I don't think we realize how much, it's with us. It's something I can give a client and they can go home and do, and not have to have a whole bunch of singing bowls or tuning forks or whatever to experience it.
Yeah, I find singing for me, I love doing it in the car, and I love singing. I think I'm fabulous, but I know I'm not. But but I just enjoy it, and I have literally I don't know. I was always joking with my kid, like when I remember being pregnant in the car, just like belting out all the songs, and I just enjoy singing. So that's to me my little feel good therapy. But so you talked about for sound healing. So do you have a viola and a violin? What are some other, and there's the Tibetan singing bowl, and some tuning forks. What are some other instruments that are used for sound healing? Kind of how does that work?
I would say in general, like if someone was going to someone else locally or something, it's also common to have like rattles or like some other kind of rhythmic instrument. But I would say like the singing and the singing bowls are kind of what I've seen to be the most common when I've seen other people's. But I think also like combination of choir and the singing aspect is something I feel like is through a lot of it. But for me also, I've always had an interest in my music degree in other cultures and especially indigenous cultures.
Mhm.
And one thing is there's music and dance through every single indigenous culture. It was like always a part of any kind of big ceremony. And I was thinking even there was like some tribes where there's a specific song that's like written for you either before you're born or you learn or you're created. And actually there was an African tribe that I first heard of that did this where everyone had their own song. But now that I'm living in Sweden, there's the native people, Sami people here are actually through Sweden, Finland, Norway. So they're nomadic and, herders, but they have a special song and it's like something that's gifted to you. And then they said like even when you're like a teenager or older, like someone who's in love with you could gift you a song, but it's this kind of personal thing for someone. So that's kind of where I came to an idea of having a song, helping someone write a song for their future child so that you're kind of imagining this child with you and thinking about who they are and what they will be. But then also that you could sing the song for them when the child's here.
That's cool. And then as far as the research, what does it say around sound healing and what the benefits are for our health? And I'm not sure if there's any studies on fertility, but maybe more health in general.
Interestingly, as far as related to fertility, just for music, I thought it was interesting. It wasn't specifically sound healing, but I found this one study where it was someone who was doing IVF and they randomly divided the fertilized eggs from 114 patients into two groups. And one group got a loudspeaker system while they were incubated, and the other one was a traditional incubator. And they found that there was a statistically higher fertilization rate by 4.8%, which seemed like not that much, but I know with IVF, any little degree of improvement can be a big deal. So, what was interesting was it didn't matter which type of music. So it must have been more about the vibration than the music style.
Yeah. So it was playing with that loudspeaker.
Yeah. But also I found like there was a lot of research on when you have a child and you're singing with them, that obviously it's kind of a bonding thing. And we know that babies recognize the voice of their parents. So even if someone doesn't feel like they have a good voice or something, but singing can be a way to calm down your child just as singing together actually can synchronize your heartbeat, which I thought was really interesting. I think the big thing is releasing oxytocin, which is the feel good or the love hormone, which of course, when you're stressed out and you're dealing with, the whole thing of just relax, like, well, how do I do that? That was the thing I hated the most when I was trying before. Everyone would just say, oh, just go on vacation. You're going to get pregnant. I was like, yeah, whatever. But I think having real ways to deal with, because it is stressful. And so for me, the singing and the Tibetan singing bowl to me is just really fascinating because I just got one more recently and I thought, what's the difference? Is it just like a gong or something? But it is really peaceful. Like I can feel this just resonance through my body, which is really interesting. So, but yeah, I also, with my violin or viola, I always had noticed that I could kind of calm down when I've been a music teacher for 20 years. And I noticed when my students were a little bit crazy or something, if I played a song for them, I could kind of calm the room down. So there is just that kind of, and the studies that have been done on sound healing specifically also showed reduction in pain. So for people who are dealing with, there can be a lot if you're doing treatments or whatever with, IVF treatments or whatever, where it can be kind of stressful and painful for different things. And also just some of the issues that cause infertility, like PCOS or endometriosis, all the stuff that can make your period horrible or those things that you're dealing with as well. I think the pain reduction is pretty significant. They said it was about 95% of people who participated in sound healing said they had a reduction in their pain. So I figure that can be,
Yeah.
stress reduction and pain reduction. And it's also supposed to boost your immune system. So I figure that's a good thing too.
Yeah, and helping with anxiety and depression. Also,
Yeah.
yeah, also looking at something, it also helps with being more productive.
Yes. Yes. There was some research to say music can improve your memory as well. So there's a lot of research on music in general and the benefit. I've been aware of that for a long time as a music teacher, where you're always having to justify, why do you have a music class? And
Yeah.
but I could always see, just even within the kids, like the differences, like with kids who had ADHD and were on medication. And I found that when they forgot their medication, they actually did better in music class. And that it was a calming effect. Like the music had a calming effect on them. They didn't need the medication. It's like accessing their creative side of their brain that they needed to be exercised. But the other teachers would say, well, they can't sit still in math class without their medication. But I noticed that at least in music, they were more in the flow and more participating. But yeah, so I think for fertility, the effects can be something that you can, learn some songs, learn some techniques or breathing, and then something that can take you through those tough times, or when you get that really difficult period, or the news that, okay, this didn't work this time, or whatever it is, that you can have something to turn to, or music that you can turn on and say, okay, I'm going to listen to this and it's going to calm me down. And I think the more, just like any kind of meditation, the more you have something that you do regularly as a practice, the more it's easier to turn to when you're stressed.
Yeah, using it as a prevention tool instead of like, oh wait, now I need it. You're just doing it, weaving it into your daily routine.
Yeah. And I mean, we all, myself included, sometimes it's hard to stick with routines, but I think the more you work with somebody and you have someone mentoring you, or you're in a program or whatever that can help with calming your stress, anxiety level, then I think it can be one of many tools you can use to help keep
Absolutely.
yourself calm.
And then, so how do we use mantras with sound healing?
What I've done is, I did more like in a workshop setting, but I think I know, actually I have done it with a couple of clients too, but it can be like, I'm just very intuitive about picking a song that would fit with somebody, or with what is it they need, what are the kind of buzzwords or things that are coming up for them. Is it they don't feel confident, or they don't feel beautiful, or they whatever, working that into whatever the opposite of that struggle is, in a positive. Like, I took a song that was about sanctuary and just changed the word slightly to be, soul, prepare me to be a sanctuary, joyful, healthy, strong, and safe for you. And with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. So then you can add, and that was a specific tune already. I just slightly changed the words for someone. I thought it was kind of a good kind of meditative. But the other really simple thing is just taking, a simple sentence like, I will be a mother, or I am a mother, or I am whole or healthy, or whatever it is that, someone is struggling with. And then just repeating it back. So, you could even do this with your partner or with a practitioner. Um, and then, so first, kind of just, like if you were to say, I am healthy, and I say back to you, you are healthy, and going back and forth for a minute or two. And then trying to sing that so that it becomes your simple, and it doesn't have to be any really difficult tune or anything. It just can be, I am healthy, I am healthy, something very simple. It doesn't have to be this creative genius song that you wrote, it could be all in one note, just more chanting. But I found in this workshop setting that people's voices, what do you call it? The confidence in their voice changed the more they sang the mantra. So I found that really interesting. You could just hear them kind of own it after, a while. So we did like a minute or two where they were just singing, and some of them actually played around with changing the tune as they went. So it was like a little call and response improv with the group. But I noticed every single one started out a little shaky in their voice, but by the end we're singing very strong. So I think it can also just be a confidence booster for you too, to have this, I sang this song today. And it doesn't have to be very complex, but I think there is some power in writing music or owning it.
So is it better to go back and forth, or then start, I guess, with your partner then, or if just to sing "I am healthy," like to?
I think by yourself, like if you're just by yourself, you could just do it on your own and kind of play around with, what other ways you can use the tune. Or just whatever comes out too. It could just be, "I am healthy," like you just shouting it to the rooftops, But I think that the power I saw in the group dynamic was that they're giving, kind of extra amplification to your voice, and that hearing that someone else is telling you this is really powerful too. For people, I think it's a common experience for people to feel kind of broken when they're going through infertility. That's like the world, everyone else is able to produce a child and you're struggling, and you kind of feel like, I don't know, yeah, like you're not as beautiful or healthy or whatever, or your body's betrayed you or something like that. So I think changing around that wording can really help with your belief in yourself, and no matter what the outcome, if you come out stronger, then you have a better idea of what next step to take.
Yeah, and then recording the singing for yourself to hear it. Then is that?
Yeah. I have, like, there's a couple apps you can use for recording, and if you're interested, then you could play it back with your own voice, which is kind of cool too. To, like, on the days where you're crying and you don't think you can sing, but I think it is calming to hear your own voice too, because it's that really fundamental mantra of like, this is the voice in your head. And so if your voice in your head is normally telling you negative things, to, like, when you're doing good and you have a good day, record yourself and with that full energy. And then I think it would be really helpful to play back then later. You can use just a simple like voice recorder, like on the iPhone, or there are some apps where you can do multi-track recording. If someone maybe played an instrument when they were younger or something, and you want to come back to it, it is kind of a neat thing to play around with. Just, put in one version and then maybe another track you just hum on one note. I'll do a little bit with that when we do our little mini sound healing.
Yeah, I like the app Think Up, and then you can record it on there and listen to it later. It's a good one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Think Up. Okay, so how do you go about co-creating songs with your clients then? How would that work?
I do. Like I said, sometimes, sometimes I just have an intuition like, oh, this song would fit with this person. Some it's start with the words, some it would be start with the music. But I think for most people, they're going to be more comfortable with creating lyrics. So that side of it, outside the mantras, this would be more for either making peace with like a miscarriage. So if you want to kind of grieve or maybe commemorate the soul of the child that didn't come to you, writing a song that way, or writing a song for your future child. It can take different forms. But anyway, what I've done is then ask them to start with maybe like a poem. And then we kind of work together to, maybe I can give more of what's a good form for a song, and do we have a refrain? And so then we're talking about what lyrics are most important. What would you like to repeat in the song? And just, what is your child going to be like? What do you think they would like? What would be your feeling of being with them? So I think it's also a helpful thing when someone's pregnant after infertility. So because there's a lot of fear around miscarriage and what's going to go wrong, the more you've had time to sit with all these people who are going through fertility challenges, the more you're around people who miscarry. And so I think the fear's there. So I think it's also a beautiful time to work on a song when, especially like early pregnancy, when you're not really, haven't told everybody yet, but he gave you some confidence and something fun to focus on. One of my clients, she gave me permission to share, but I just really liked her refrain was, I want to look in your bright blue eyes when we talk unicorns, zombies, and snails and tell you how much you're loved. I'm happy to be your mama. And I ended up setting it to a tune, Irish Jig. And she's from the UK, and we both are living in Sweden. But I thought it was interesting when I was kind of playing around with different songs. Would this tune fit? Do you like this tune? Whatever, and kind of throwing some things out there. And then when I came on one of the jigs, she's like, oh, I used to dance to something like this when I was a kid, and it made her think of her childhood. And so then I recorded the song for her. I think she wasn't very comfortable singing. So in that case, I felt like recording it for her, and I put in some violin. She was like, oh, I'd love to have fiddle in the recording. So I made a little multi-track recording and did a little piano and violin and the singing. What I think would be ideal though is for someone to record the singing themselves, and then it's like, your song. But it just depends on people's comfort level and what works for them.
Yeah, I just recorded a podcast prior to chatting with you today, talking about during early pregnancy, after infertility, and how nerve-wracking it can be. So they had to have a song. That's because we talked about affirmations and gratitude, and really a lot of this is just showing compassion to yourself, like that really self-compassion. So the song that would be dedicated to yourself and your baby, that's kind of a cool one too.
Yeah, I think it's something beautiful. And I felt the ones I've done it with have kind of said, it was one of those kind of unexpected things that they were like, oh, makes me feel connected to the baby and really visualize. And the lyrics that I was just reading, she's actually at the very end of her pregnancy now, and she is 48 years
oh, wow.
old. And she's like a couple weeks from giving birth. So
that's how old I am.
Yeah, I know. It's like, wow, you give me hope. It's her third child, but she'd been trying for like 3 years and had 7 miscarriages before she got pregnant this time. So, but it was really cool to work with her and just see, kind of, just the intuitions that came along the way. That was really, I'm just learning as I'm getting into this work, how intuitive I am. I kind of one of those things where you don't see it until you're really using it.
That's right.
So being a music teacher, I was maybe intuitive about what instrument you should play or whatever, or how to read the room, but I didn't get to use my intuition as much. So I'm really enjoying being able to help people find their power and, working with other people. One who just, got to a place of being done, just was trying for a long time. The IVFs failed and was just ready to move on. But it was really hard for her to let go. And I think the music and feeling, as she's just had this whole shift with feeling so free from letting go of trying anymore. And I think she might move to adoption, but she's right now just, enjoying the freedom and the confidence. And that's another thing. I think the music can help kind of with the grieving process, because I think that's been one of my themes lately, is just realizing how much we all need to process and grieve, whether or not you have a child or you don't, or you move on to adopt. Even moving on to IVF from natural conception can be a grieving process. So,
absolutely. Yeah, because you have a certain plan of how you want your child to come in. And first it was, natural, then maybe it was IUI, and then you're like, how did I get to IVFs? And then maybe you put a donor eggs. How did I get there? Because the plan is now it's not where you want it. So that controlling of the whole situation. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, can you share with us a mini sound healing session? What would it be like?
So, do you want to try being my sample client, or should I
Sure.
just go through? Okay, because I'm used to doing Facebook Lives, and then you get like no feedback, but it's nice to. Um, so I would start with just some breath work, and then maybe I'll do a little chanting, singing thing. But I don't know how well it'll come through on the recording. But let me just play this. I picked this Tibetan singing bowl out of, I don't know, I was trying 4 or 5 out. And then I noticed this particular one had a little imprint that looks like a little tiny foot inside. And I thought, oh, that's like the little babies that are wanting to come forth. But I'm just going to start by playing this. And then I want to do a little breathing exercise. So whenever you're listening to this, I want you to make sure you're sitting up tall or standing up tall. And I want you to really feel your breath. So you're going to really breathe in through your nose and try to let your breath go all the way down. It's just a really relaxing. So kind of in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then I want you to try, we're going to breathe in and then you're going to kind of hum, and I'll do it first and then you can try with me. So try with me. You're going to take a breath in. We're just going to hum, just kind of go until you feel like you run out of breath. And then I want you to try, are you comfortable with me leading you through um, try breathing in, and you're going to go out on an ah. I'll do it first and then you can try it. Ah. Okay, so this time, see if you can think about your breath going down. So when you're doing the ah, try to let it just like it's moving through your body. So you really feel the resonance of your body when you do that. So try one more time. Yeah, that was better. Do one more time for me. Yeah, nice.
Voice crack.
So, those of you that are trying this at home, when you're doing this on your own, I also want you to play around with different pitches because different notes can resonate in different parts of your body. And I think rather than saying we should do C sharp for this condition or D or whatever, or try to think too much about it, I tend to just feel like, what does my body need? And just try different notes and see how you feel. So maybe, but I feel like not something really high, but kind of this, right in this kind of, right in your kind of almost speaking, you're speaking, going into singing, where you really feel it down in your body. But like I said, when I have a rough time or something and I tune in with the one note, it's really about feeling the sound in your body and feeling it resonate through your body. And then I have done another one that's just more of a chant that you repeat. And I'll just do this because I think on Zoom, if we try to do it at the same time, it kind of gets out of sync with each other. But those of you who are listening to the podcast, you can sing along and you don't have anyone else listening, so it'll work. So I'll start and then you can just kind of join in. If I was in person with someone or like over Zoom where you can see, I do sometimes add kind of motions or if you're and some of it can just be, kind of moving your arms out, like if you making a big circle and then opening your hands out. But you can kind of, again, also sometimes maybe you need to bring the energy in. So scooping up some air and bringing it into you and bringing the positive energy in while you're singing can also be a good visualization. And also thinking of your breath and your feet being connected to the earth, like your feet are kind of just grounded like tree roots and they're nourishing you. And I think some of this visualizing can help when you're singing as well. So you're not focused on, oh, is my voice good or bad or whatever. The point is to be very meditative with these kind of exercises. So it's not a time to judge your voice or voice quality. If it cracks or whatever, don't worry about it. It's more a matter of kind of tuning into yourself. So so this other one, it will just be a little bit repetitive. I'll do a short version, but if I was working with someone or in a workshop, we might spend more time on it. Who you are, who you are, who you are, hey ya, hey ya, who you are, who you are, who you are, hey ya, hey ya, who you are, who you are, who you are, hey ya, hey ya, who you are, who you are, who you are, hey ya, hey ya, who you are, who you are, who you are, hey ya, hey ya. So with this one, if you could see me, I tend to do a little bit of, where I actually like swing my arms and so you kind of hit your thighs with your hands. And it's sort of get the, I don't know, if you have anger or frustration with the world and whatever, nobody understands. You have this moment where you're just like, oh, I want to get out my energy like that. It can be a very power kind of feeling, kind of just swinging your arms and just moving around and kind of, my other thing is kind of dance movements that are just sort of organic that you wake up your body. And also we tend to sing a little bit more when we're moving around a little bit or standing up. So you can try different combinations. Like I said, I like the idea of maybe recording some of your chanting or whatever, and then on the days where you just feel like lying in bed, you can you can just go back and listen to it. But this one I feel is very that kind of when you need to feel like I can do this, I can go there, I can get through this next treatment or whatever it is you need for that moment. Or I'm upset because somebody else is pregnant again and I'm not still, and it's their third child and what's going on. And
that stagnant energy. And so as you say, movement in with it, in with the breath and the singing.
Yeah. So the first exercise, the or the humming is more of, I think, a contemplative and kind of, so also something you could do when you're just like, if you do need to lie down or you need to rest, you can be lying on your back and just kind of and just really feel it in your body. The other one would be more of a, like I said, a movement based kind of, yeah.
Yeah, very neat. Very neat. Awesome. Well, thanks for doing that. Hopefully that yeah, I think that's it's just neat kind of way to. I think if someone hasn't experienced the sound healing, it is like I've done the Tibetan. I've experienced the Tibetan sound bowls in a yoga. It was like so loud, it was almost deafening. Actually, it almost hurt my ears. She had 3 of these big, massive crystal, I guess they were crystal bowls, and it was like,
Okay.
wow,
Yeah.
it was intense. But yeah, to add the singing piece and having your own voice, and then you feel that reverberation in your body, the vibration, which is, as we said with the research, is healing. So definitely take a listen to that again to try it. And so as far as any kind of resources, is there anything you're obsessed with right now that you're loving, a book or a website, an app, documentary, anything you want to recommend?
I just found, I haven't read these books, but they were recommended by another sound healer. But I think The New Science of Song, and Deep Listeners. So The Science of Song was by Elaine Menace and Deep Listeners by Judith Becker. But I sometimes look on YouTube and just see what other people are doing with the sound healing. I think it's kind of interesting. You can find some things that are just sort of chanting or music background that's like an hour long on YouTube loop or whatever. And sometimes it's just relaxing. You have to get something done or whatever, but just have this calming music playing in the background, I think is helpful. But also, I would encourage just music in general. So it doesn't have to be the quote unquote sound healing music. But I think the most meditative kind of things are like classical music, the more Baroque, Bach, this kind of earlier. And also, what's really cool is some of the church music, the really early church music, is a lot of chanting and very meditative to me. And sometimes you can go, I know in Seattle where I'm from, there was a Compline service they did that was all just this plain song chanting or early music. In fact, when I took music history, they recommended to go to this church service for studying this style of music, but it was all sung and there's no instruments or anything. But I always found it very, very healing as well. So I think, yeah, just exploring ways that music can help you relax and really focus in, and also just finding a playlist of tunes that really speak to you. And one just kind of more contemplative song, I guess, with lyrics that I love is Kelly Coffey. It's I Would Die for That. I don't know if you're familiar with that song, but she has a video and it's dedicated to infertility, and it's really beautiful. You got to get the Kleenex out when you watch it. But
Kelly Coffey is in the beverage.
Yeah. It's not spelled like that, but I forgot. It's like Coffee or something. I can look it up. But I Would Die for That is the name of the song, and there's a video on YouTube, and it's just one that I've had on my playlist when I'm down or had a rough time. It's sort of one of her lyrics is, I just long to hear the words. Oh, one thing I want to hear before my time is gone is the words, "I love you, Mom." And it's just really, one of those beautiful songs. So I have several on a kind of, I had a sort of infertility playlist, I guess you could call it, but songs that I would listen to that just remind you that, or other ones that are kind of like don't give up songs, that kind of thing, which it might not be written for fertility specifically, but kind of on those days where you're just having a rough day, and it can kind of bring you back and remind you, yeah, okay, I'm not alone.
keep going. Yeah. Yeah. And then is there a success story you'd like to share? You shared a few along the way, but anything else that you'd like to share?
I think that was like the main ones.
Mhm.
I've been most moved by least what the one just being 48 and like
Mhm.
having a child and after so much struggle. So
Mhm.
that one's kind of been on my heart, especially because she's a couple weeks away from giving birth. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
so
Awesome.
yeah, but
And so you have a sound healing meditation for grief, and they go to newconceptions.ipages.co/sound healing for grief. And we'll have that link in the show notes. And what can listeners expect there?
it's meditation where I have some kind of a chanting, singing in the background and some body percussion. Actually, I use some sounds myself. And then I have sort of a speaking over top of it that's just sort of a meditative reflection on, kind of thoughts on grieving and kind of letting go, and sort of meant to just be sort of a calm thing that you could listen to and help you with processing, whether it's because I think sometimes we have multiple losses. We might be going through infertility and we lose a parent or a grandparent, or your pet dies or whatever, and it compounds the effect of what's your big issue that you're dealing with. So I feel like it's really important to recognize our grief along the way, and I'm actually working towards having something like maybe the day before Mother's Day, where we have just sort of a session for grief and processing. And but yeah, I'll let you know if I get that all organized. But I've been feeling lately that this is something that we don't do enough of, is acknowledging people's grief in the process of infertility.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and how music can be a thread. So yeah, so my meditation is really a combination of my speaking and singing in the background.
Awesome. So you can go to newconceptions.ipages.co/sound healing for grief. And thanks so much for coming on the podcast. This was a really cool session, and talking about sound healing and digging into this. And if you haven't experienced it, definitely check out that sound healing meditation.
Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Thank you for listening to Get Pregnant Naturally. Seriously, it means the world to me that you're here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can be notified of upcoming episodes. I'm excited to offer you a special gift. If you're a U.S. resident, text FERTIL to 345-345. You'll be prompted to enter your email address and you'll receive our Fertility Yoga download. In this 20-minute intro video, we focus on a calming and peaceful practice to connect back to your heart. These simple fertility yoga poses can help quiet negative thoughts and make you feel more in control. Download it now and get started today. So for U.S. residents, text FERTILE, FERTILE, to 345-345. For non-U.S. residents, go to www.yogafreebie.com to access your special gift. That's www.yogafreebie.com to access the free fertility yoga download. And I love this quote by Dr. Mark Hyman, medical director of the Cleveland Clinic Center for Functional Medicine and chairman of the Institute for Functional Medicine. Functional medicine is medicine by cause, not by symptom. Functional medicine practitioners don't in fact treat disease. We treat your body's ecosystem. We get rid of the bad stuff, put in the good stuff, and because your body is an intelligent system, it does the rest. Thanks for listening. Until next time.